Welcome to American Dialectic with Jake and Joe, and today we are going to be talking about the possibility of an executive order from Donald J. Trump on funding for education. Joe.
Yeah.
When did you hear about this?
Actually, this morning.
Okay, me too. What do you think?
I don't know. I like it, and I'm always cautious, especially when you're talking about government interference in anything. Really,
No, naturally.
Yeah.
So we're already interfering anyways by giving him money.
Right, and that's the thing that makes me a little less skeptical about this, is I don't know that education systems should be funded in the first place by the government. I understand the need for it. It's to me, it's real murky water. But on the other hand, for every one video you're going to find of a conservative attacking a liberal, you're going to find 10 liberals attacking conservatives, and a lot of them are on school campuses. So it's really hard to argue that there's not a problem there when you're seeing this kind of violence.
Oh, yeah,
I mean, there were 2 or 3 stories just this week, of conservatives getting attacked by liberals. So I think it's something to address. I think it's something that when you talk about free speech, if you really mean free speech for all, that means for all. That means people with good ideas and bad ideas. That means whether you're a communist, whether you're a socialist, whether you're a capitalist.
It doesn't matter.
Wherever you fall, even if you're a pedophile, you should be able to talk. As much as I don't like these people, if you're going to say free speech is free speech, then it has to meet that.
Oh, I hate the words you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it, whatever it may be.
Yeah, I agree.
The reason why that I think that funding from the government into the education system creates a major free speech problem is the fact that who pays taxes? All Americans.
Right.
And when you go ahead and you are taking government money from the government that all people pay into, and you're giving it to an institution, and you give the institution power to regulate the people who have access to that, you have to treat everyone fairly and equally. And turning around and saying, no, you can't, that's immediately showing favoritism to one group or another. I mean, would you really want a religious institution to tell atheists who are receiving government funds, no, you cannot actually hang around us? No, that's not fair, especially if you're using my money.
Yeah, taking tax money to fund political, campaigns or basically just a place to churn out activists is not what the educational system's supposed to be.
Oh yeah, it's about giving people the tools needed in order to not only function in our democracy, republic, but to give them the means to build a life, build jobs, build their own futures and families.
And it brings up another point too, as part of being an independent human, somebody that can function on their own, is being able to decipher what's a good idea and what's a bad idea. And sometimes bad ideas have the same traits as each other. So a lot of bad ideas have fundamental things that they have in common. And so being able to recognize those is huge, So listening to somebody who is going to have a bad idea because you've seen the outcome of it before, it's a beneficial process. It's part of education, is learning this is why we don't do these things. It helps back up philosophy.
Oh yeah, and it goes ahead and lays definitely a strong groundwork of seeing how people actually go ahead and approach a problem. If you see that a certain set of people go ahead and approach these problems in a rather uncivilized way, and you can only imagine how uncivilized that they're actually going to be when actually trying to apply their ideas.
Right.
It's a reason why people don't tolerate things like Antifa and their communist ideology. One, they have a history of extraordinary violence, but on top of that, if they're not willing to sit down and have a conversation, they're going to try to hit you over the head, trying to go ahead and convince you to be on their side. No, it doesn't work like that.
Right. No, yeah, I hear where you're coming from.
God forbid if you actually ever get any power.
Yeah.
Because why would you ever change?
Right. Well, they're demonstrating a willingness to be violent to people just for disagreeing with them. Not even for they call them racist and all, and bigot and homophobe,
which is their right.
If that's what these people are, even if that was true, they're still not attacking people based on race. They're not attacking people. They may have opinions on that. I'm not saying that's true or false, but even if it was true, it's still not enough to attack them. You don't physically assault somebody. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that's the main point of Antifa. That's the part I disagree with them on the most.
And we are turning around and funding such things. And I'm not down with that. That's not speech. That's just a terrible way to treat other people who should be having the fundamental right of freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, without criminal threats.
Well, and tyranny always starts anywhere by censoring speech. You know what I mean? That has to be the start. In America, you have to start with taking our guns. That's why we're special. That's why nobody's taking our speech, is because you can't take our guns. You're going to come house to house to every redneck in America and say, you got to give up your gun? That sounds bloody. Sounds real bloody.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that is just not going to happen. So, but Venezuela, that's a great example. We were just talking with a gentleman, Alvaro, over there, telling us about that. And there's 18-year-olds that are locked up, 16-year-olds that are locked up for the last 2-3 years over free speech because they protested. And they're and like he was talking about, they're being tortured and that kind of stuff. That's what censorship of speech leads to. That's what happens if you let people that threaten violence, and they'll claim they're not, but that's what happens when you let fascists take over.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking for a definition of fascism, it's Antifa.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that Proud Boys or those kinds of guys are any better. I'm just saying these people will beat you if you disagree with them. I've seen it in Seattle on those videos. You've seen it, all over. You know,
I wish you were there with me in Minnesota when I actually went to that one protest.
Well, if you recall that event in my current state when we were ready to go, it is a damn good thing I did not go with you.
You were wanting to go there for a fight.
I can't go to a place where people are going to shout abuse at me and not want to fight. That's just the way I am. So I have to. I just, in my mind, I got to avoid a situation like that, or I'm going to fight.
And how they treated people was radically shocking.
Yeah, our mutual friend. He got called a lot of things, man. It was not
talking to the right. They were friendly. They shook his hand. They were willing to have a conversation with him.
Sure.
But then the other side is going ahead. They're dropping the hard R on him. They are calling all sorts
Uncle
of
Tom, Coon was all tossed around. Horrible words, and especially for someone to have to endure from their own people. Other black people were calling him this on the left side. We won't mention his name, but it was. I was angry. I was angry for him.
If you know me personally, you can find videos and pictures of when I was there. Yeah. But it was a horrific kind of thing. I thought, oh, hey, they're right. We're all the bad guys. I'm like, maybe we are, maybe we aren't. You go there and you actually see people actually behaving that way. No, I'm sorry. We have long accepted that these people are human beings.
Right.
You're the person that is turning around and degrading them.
Yeah.
And no. And you know what? I still think they have the right to go ahead and say that.
Yeah.
But like hell, am I ever going to want to finance your ability, or anyone's ability,
to propagate such knowledge,
to prevent the propagation of the ideas?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I'm also not going to directly finance you to go ahead and spread that kind of idealism.
Oh, of course.
It causes violence and pain, and nobody's any better for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, in conclusion, sign the executive order?
Sign it, but only if the legislature will not take steps first.
That's a whole nother video. You know they're gridlocked and they won't do anything for Trump. My opinion, Trump, sign it. They ain't going to listen to you. I don't think you should even bother with Congress anymore. I really don't. And I'm the kind of guy that I'm like, there's a system, there's this due process, and that checks and balances. But anymore, after what I've seen from them, and you know what, Nancy Pelosi is the most reasonable one of them. Somehow, she's the most reasonable one. And I don't understand, and she's not getting anything done with Trump. Trump could say tomorrow, the sky is blue. And, we need to keep it that way. Pollution is wrecking it. Mm-hmm. And Nancy Pelosi would say, sky has been gray for years. And there's no winning. I can't think of him doing anything in the House. Can you?
I want him to try. Even if he fails, I want him to be able to tell supporters, I brought him a deal.
You can't, but you can't negotiate with people who don't want to negotiate.
Oh, of course. It's the fact that we can say we tried.
Yeah, I know you're right. I know that from a fundamental viewpoint you're right, but it's so hard to say let's keep playing ball when they don't even want to come to the table. They don't want a resolution on anything.
Well,
Trump says he wants to stop the anti-LGBT hate crimes in other countries and stop it from being illegal.
And now suddenly it's racist.
Yeah, and now that's racist. He's racist for wanting to change other cultures. It's like, come on.
Like, there's a fine point where
Trump,
how is it the conservatives saying, you know what? We should be nice to the LGBT community. We should encourage people to not criminalize it.
Trump literally said, don't throw gay people off of buildings.
Don't throw them in jail.
And they said, you're racist.
Don't,
Not part of the Quran. That's how you handle a gay man. You throw him, you tie him to a chair and throw him off a roof. And depending on the grievances of his crime is how high the roof is. I mean, I'm sure that's a layman's interpretation, and I'm sure if you're a Muslim, you could correct me. Comments below.
Please do.
It's what they're for. But that's my understanding of it. If I'm wrong, please tell me. I want to learn. I'm not here to be ignorant. So, anyway, I think that's a good place to wrap it up.
Yeah. Sign the order if they won't negotiate.
I say sign the order. Just sign the order.
Fair enough.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you watching.
Bye.